Cool, so this is the NWC Show, episode 38, and if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Logan Smith and I'm buzzing to be on the show today.
Man, thanks for taking the time to come out your day and be on and stuff like that. It's cool. I'm still new at doing these live things. It's the first time, well, this is the second time I've done it. The first time I done it was yesterday. I think it's a little bit more cooler than like recording it via Skype, just talking to ourselves if somebody wants to come in and ask questions.
I've never done anything like this. I've never done a live sort of Q&A thing. Well, I've done one on Instagram once, but it's not quite the same as sitting down and actually chatting to somebody rather than answering questions.
Well, so the first question we always ask everybody that comes on the show is the main one that everybody wants to know is what got you into wrestling? What was that moment you were like, this is my jam? Especially, I know you're probably a wee bit younger than me, but growing up now, wrestling's not that cool. So what got you into
it? I always sort of like played on the background in my house. It would come on after a show we used to watch. So, but I think one day I was sort of going by and it was that old show that they used to do, WWE from the Vault. I showed the triple threat tag team ladder match with Edge and Christian, the Hardys and the Dudley Boys. And I think it was at that match that I sort of just turned around and I was like, "Whoa, this is cool." So from that point, I was like, I'm going to go watch more of this guy because he was the guy that got me interested the most. So I went and I watched a couple of things and I was like, "There's more of this." So it was for that moment on, I was like, "Right, this is a cool sort of thing to do." And then you go into school and you start talking about it and you realise it's not so cool to everybody else.
But when I was in wrestling training, when I was wrestling and I was going to school and people were like, "Oh, you just go and wear spandex at the weekend and stuff like that." And I'm like, "Aye, I do, but it's fun. I like doing it." But it's not really bullying. It's just in a Scottish school. It's hard at times.
Aye, exactly.
Like anything.
Construction site now. I work in a construction site, so you can imagine how that goes when people find out that that's what I do at my weekends.
I see. I'm self-employed now, so I'm like a boss. And nobody literally, like the people that I've got working for me, are not going to slag me.
You take that.
But it's it's like in construction or in like school and stuff like that as well. Any wee thing coming with like pink socks or something, that's you. 6 years doing the drain. So, kind of, what was your kind of first time? What was it like turning up to training for the first time? Because I remember I was shitting myself. I was like 13 when I first went to wrestling training, so I was like shitting myself. But what was your kind of first?
I was sort of eased a wee bit. I had one of my really good mates in with me. Like he's the one that invited me in to wrestling. We used to play with the action figures and all that. We were wee guys. We used to play the video games, and I went to a Scottish show for the very first time. I went into school a couple of days later and I spoke to him and I was like, "Remember how you used to play the action figures? I'm going to be a wrestler." He turns around and he was like, "I've been training for 2 years now, mate. You're behind." And I was like, "Whoa, where can I do it?" and all that. And I was like, he invited me across to where he was training. And like, if it wasn't for like Jimmy Pierce, who is the guy that invited me over, I don't think I'd still be wrestling right now. So that sort of eased me in a wee bit, knowing that I had somebody there that I already knew and somebody that I know that I could sit and talk to if I didn't like it or if I didn't know what I was doing. So it was all right.
I remember when I first started wrestling training myself, I had like nobody turn up with like one person that like I sort of knew from school. They were like 2 years above me. Never spoke to them. I just heard they were going to the same training place, and it was just in the middle of nowhere. It was in Linwood. I don't know if you know where that is, but
yeah, I know roughly. Yeah,
I live in the city centre of Glasgow. So back when I was 13, which was like 2004, 2003, that was like it's so hard to get to, especially when you're turning up the bus yourself and stuff like that, which is weird. But I stuck out. I met great friends and stuff like that from it, and it's such a weird, like, if nobody's done like MMA or anything like that, it's quite similar to that, but it's totally different because everybody's like trying to protect each other, but also you try to learn it, keep it real and stuff like that as well, which is pretty cool. So the other question that I love asking Scottish wrestlers is, when I was growing up, when I started in Scottish wrestling, there was nothing. There was SWA, which that was the only thing around, and ICW back then was just starting out. It was still in the Maryhill Borough Halls, which was like barely anybody there. How proud are you to be taking part in Scottish wrestling, especially being on ICW network and stuff like that? How proud are you to kind of be in that environment at the minute?
Honestly, I think Scottish wrestling right now is one of the best sort of wrestling. You know what I mean?
I know what you're trying to say.
Wrestling scenes, that's it. Wrestling scenes currently. And I think it's just cool to be able to turn around and say, like, I'm a part of this. Guys that have built it up, like guys like Drew McIntyre now, he's absolutely cemented this legacy in Scottish wrestling where we're not just like we're not just random wee wrestlers, we're like wrestling to be taken seriously. Like, but it's cool to be a part of it completely. So I am well proud to say my name's there somewhere.
Definitely, man. I think it's so cool to see how far it's came from like being like in the middle of like nowhere training schools that were like in like industrial estates and stuff like that to like now when it's like all the glitz and glamour of like the ICW stuff. Obviously, ICW's on the network. It's like you said, it's kind of cemented Scottish wrestling as a place to kind of look at, and I would agree with you. I think it's one of the best kind of scenes for Scottish wrestling at the minute as well. I don't think there's a lot that really compete with it. You've got everything from your hardcore style, technical style, everything's there. And it's such a fun show to watch on a weekly basis.
And it's great actually being part of like a company like that has put Scottish wrestling back where it should be. It's put British wrestling, not just Scottish wrestling, it's put British wrestling back on a map. And it's brought more attention back to us. But even filming these shows, I've not had that privilege of meeting an ICW crowd yet. I've not been on the crowds. I was brought in during these tapings, but like from what I've heard, as soon as these crowds are back, it's just as good as when doing just these tapings. So I'm looking forward to when I see these crowds come back.
Sorry, mate, I just sneezed there, just in case you were like, what happened to that guy? I don't know, I just sneezed. I think I'm going to sneeze again. Just hay fever, sorry. I think I've control on myself. I think I'm so what do you dislike about today's product in wrestling? That's something I always like to ask people as well, because for me, it would either be the kind of wrestling community sometimes on Twitter can be a little bit too judgmental. Sometimes just like, just calm down, it's just wrestling. But on the other side, for me, it would be, obviously I've got a review show, it would be how hard it is to watch 3 hours of Raw every week. Like it's dire. But what's something that you dislike about it? Obviously try and bully WWE and stuff like that, because obviously
I think I'll agree with you in a sense that I do think some things go on for a lot longer than they should be going on. I think a lot more can get done in an hour and a half than it can in 3 hours of backstage promos and stuff like that, where we could have an hour and a half of like match. I think another thing that I sort of that puts me off a current product is it's not so much wrestling now. A lot of it is turned into this sort of acrobatic style. I'm all for high flying guys. They're cool, man. They can do flips. I can't do flips, right? So like these guys impress me every time they come off the top, like a triple backflip or whatever. Guys like that, they impress me every time they do it. But at the end of the day, they're coming to a wrestling show. I'd love to just sit there and wrestle all day. Like I'm a big fan of the British style. I really like that sort of style of wrestling. Or having it just as an actual fight. But I get why guys do it. I get why fans like it. But I like it going back to the way where it was just wrestling. It wasn't having to do triple backflips again. But fair play to the guys that can do it. I'm not digging them at all because it's impressive what they can do. But yeah, it's just my preference. I would rather have a match than have all these guys off the top and cool stuff. Cool. It's cool now. I see life enjoy guys do it. But yeah, that's just my preference.
No, definitely, man. I agree with you there. I'm not a big high flyer guy. Like, I like watching it. I think it's so cool. But when I was doing it, there was no way that I was going to, like, I could do that. Like, I'm like a lead balloon. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could maybe jump off the top rope every now and again, but I'm not a, I'm not a person that's good at the flips and stuff like that. Like handstands, I even struggle doing them.
I'm the exact come up with a few. There's a few moves that'll come off. I my suicide dives and stuff, but all these sort of like the corkscrew, phoenix splashes, whatever, they're not for me. I don't trust myself to do them.
And that's exactly the same way for me. Like I do not trust myself doing it. Like, so when I was wrestling, I broke my neck by just coming off the side of the kind of ring apron. I was just testing something, came off side of it, broke my neck. So if I was doing a flip, I'd probably, I don't know, paralyzed or something. Like
I'd do the exact same.
like,
thankfully, I've not had to break my neck yet to realise that. But like,
I'm just a clumsy person. But like, if you like when people used to be like, oh, like a size, you'd be cool doing flips and stuff. I'm like, no, I can't. I'm not going up like today. I flip off the top rope, calm down. Going to hurt myself just like rolling around the ring. But I totally agree with you. Like, I'm not a big kind of. I love watching like Sabu, Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy. It's so cool to watch, but it wasn't my style when I was in the ring. And like you says, I love that kind of technical. It obviously has its place. Like, you need to have both. You can't just have technical and just high flying. But
yeah, like I said, having that, there's too much in one thing. Like, as you were saying about things being 3 hours long and sitting having to look. If you want to sit through a show of 3 hours of guys just doing high flying moves, you'd eventually get bored. You would. Same with you sat and watched guys chain about for 3 hours, you get bored. So I think there is that point where you can have half and half, split it, where you can have some wrestling and then you entice the other fans that enjoy the high flying stuff with the rest of the show. But it's like cool that's everybody's going home happy, where you can sit one match, it might be chain, you might be like, not enjoying this. Next thing you know, it's guys like Ricochet or whatever coming flying through ropes and everything, which would grab your attention again, and then you're happy to watch the next match, and it goes back to chain that next match, and you're still enjoying it because of the last match. So I think it all works together to make like that perfect sort of product.
definitely, man, it's the pacing of the show that I feel like in a 3-hour show, just the pacing is just it's impossible to keep somebody's interest for 3 hours. Like,
yeah,
like you put me down in front of like a 2-hour movie, and by the end of it, I'm like, let's go. We need to start doing something different. I've got my phone out, I fidget, I hate sitting for long periods of time. So like,
yeah,
3 hours is just.
I don't like that. I like being up and active. I mean, I'll sit down and watch a movie or something at some point, but if I watch a movie, I'm watching a movie. I'm not watching 3 in a row.
I know, like, I hate when people like the binging on Netflix and stuff like that. Like, I get why people do it, but for me, that's the worst thing ever. Like, I maybe a half an hour TV show. I'm like, one episode, I'm away. Like, I need to go do something different. This is boring.
I'm the exact same. I can't stand sitting doing nothing for so long. I need to be doing something. I don't care what it is. It could literally be like going to the gym, or I'll get up and tidy my room. That's where it could come to. But honestly, I can't stand just sitting about for too long.
Definitely. What I normally do is I normally like work out if I'm watching a movie. So if I'm with my partner or my kids or something, they'll be watching something, and I'll just be like doing like some sort of weird like David Goggins thing or like burpee challenge and stuff. And they can sit and watch their movies while I can then enjoy myself, and I can still participate in what they're doing. But it's not for me. So on the flip side of that, man, what is something that you really enjoy about today's product? What's something that you're like, this is something that I love kind of about wrestling? For me, it would be how much of it is. They're literally a show every night.
Wrestling. I don't think you could switch a channel on your telly without seeing something to do with wrestling right now, which is incredible. It's the same as like, I remember before lockdown and everything, I'm walking through like Glasgow City Centre and that, and I'm seeing like every corner I turn, there's a poster for a show. I'll turn one corner and then, there's another show. There's another show. Everywhere you go, there was just show posters for absolutely everywhere. And it's like, this is I think I'll agree with you on that completely. I think a great thing is knowing that wherever you go, there's going to be a wrestling event at some point. And I think pretty much all of Scotland's covered with wrestling territories before lockdown anyway. I'm not sure how it's going to be when we come back, but it's definitely a great thing. I think another thing that I really enjoy about like the product right now is like obviously I'm a younger wrestler compared to a lot of other guys, so I really enjoy seeing these younger guys coming through and like making a name for themselves. Like on major promotions, get like guys that have been wrestling for years but have never really got that opportunity to make their name. Like somebody like MJF, like I'd never heard of MJF until AEW, but it's great to see him being this top heel in this company. This top guy, he's one of the top guys, and 2 years ago I would never have heard his name. But I think it is great, like seeing like guys who are not long out in my position make a name for themselves in loads of different places. So I would say I would enjoy that as well about right now.
100%, man. I think, like you says, like AEW's opened up a lot of kind of doors for people that you might have not seen before. So, like one of my favourite wrestlers in now is like Darby Allin.
Yeah,
I seen maybe a match or two of him before, but then like now I'm like, oh, I can see him every
Aye.
week.
Aye.
And he's one of my favourite wrestlers, Sting. So
Aye.
straight away I'm a fan, so it's all right. But I think
even stuff like that, putting these guys who are just coming through and with these guys who have already cemented a name for themselves, it builds these guys fuller and it gives them a bit more attention. Like people may not know who Darby Allin is, but then they see him in with Sting, and they used to watch Sting in WCW, so then they'll be like, "Oh, who's that with Sting? Oh, Darby Allin, let's like him, blah blah blah. Just search him. Now he's got a viewing as well." So I think stuff like that's a great thing for companies to be doing right now.
definitely, man. I think it's the way forward as well, bringing back that kind of Attitude Era, that kind of Monday Night Wars, which is still so like everybody knows what the Monday Night Wars if you're a wrestling fan, because I think everybody's seen something from it, a pay-per-view or something, because it's all the big names in wrestling that came from there. And I think it's just so cool to like kind of team people up and stuff like that. I wish they would maybe do something a wee bit better in WWE with that, apart from like Paul Heyman, but you could maybe bring a few other guys back, but WWE would probably mess that up as well. So I'm not holding myself to them with Monday Night Raw at the minute. I'm in a bad mood with them. But
SmackDown saving it. SmackDown saving the ship.
That's the only thing that's really enjoyable. AEW the new as well, and SmackDown. Yeah. Everything else is kind of a little bit.
The NXT UK product, I really enjoy that, but I think that's just because I know a lot of these guys that are on it, and I know how hard they're working doing it. So I really enjoy that product, and it's just cool to know that that's like the biggest wrestling company in the world is recognising the UK talent on its own. We're not put in with loads of... I say we're not put in with loads, even though champions are Austrian. But I do see that these guys work hard for what they're doing, and WWE are now recognising that the UK should have its own sort of viewing rather than being shoved in random places on a dark match on SmackDown or stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely something that I enjoy watching is that UK shows.
Definitely, man. NXT UK, the only problem I have with it is it's not really marketed to like anybody in the UK, because like people that I know that are getting back into wrestling, because I've started this YouTube channel and literally everybody in my life I'm like, you need to watch my channel and go watch a wrestling show. Yeah. But they're like, never heard of NXT UK, and I'm like, go check it out. Like it's brutal matches on it, which is a really cool style.
It's like, even like obviously see you've seen, like you'll go and search something on your phone and then it will come up on like your social medias, all the sort of tracking stuff that goes through it. But the amount of wrestling that I search on my phone, and I don't think once that's came on my social medias as an ad for NXT UK. I don't know if that's because like I follow them or whatever, but it's very rarely that I'll see something from NXT UK that is actually about NXT UK. Sometimes they'll share things about Monday Night Raw, and it's like we should just be, why are we not just advertising the UK show? That's what we should be looking at here.
I agree with you, man. Like, literally, I've got a wrestling channel and I've never seen an ad for NXT UK. But unless, like, they post something and like you said, it's about, like, Raw or something different, I've never actually seen, like, an independent ad, which is something that really annoys me. I'm like, it should be promoting it because it's great matches. And the worst thing is...
product, it's great. The matches that are on it constantly are just, like, every match you're excited to watch, I think. And it's cool to see, again, just every sort of, like, I think you sort of go on every third week or something and there's somebody new in there. There's somebody new that you've not seen on the product before, which is really cool. And then I think it is good at points where they'll be like, oh, this is happening, and they'll make sure that the major matches are announced, that they could be doing, mentioning every match. Like, if you mention every match, we might not be interested in the main event, but we might be interested in that second match. So, but at the end of the day, it's still a great product.
Yeah, definitely, man. So where do you see yourself? The big question is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you see yourself in NXT UK? Obviously, it doesn't need to be exactly 10 years. Could be before that. Do you see yourself going there? AEW? Maybe to Japan? Where do you see yourself going?
I would like to be in NXT UK. I mean, like, growing up, it was always WWE. Like, everything I watched was WWE. And then when I started wrestling, the goal was always WWE. I think every sort of trainee wrestler or wrestler that's had trained in Scotland, they would instantly look at being like, WWE straight off the bat. It's the biggest wrestling company in the world. So I think, NXT UK, as I've said, it's a great product. It's something that I would love to be a part of one day. I don't care how long it is, just as long as I'm there at some point.
Yeah, I always try and do like the 10 years, like the 10-year time frame kind of thing. Because if you say to somebody, in like the next 20 years, you're like, oh, it can do. I'm not asking for like life stories. Just keep it in 10 years. But no, man, definitely your style would be so cool there. But then you could see you over in Japan, the American style as well. So
I've always said that I just want to wrestle absolutely anywhere and everywhere. That's what I've always said. That's just I want to have this as my full-time job, evidently. Like, in 10 years, I want to be like I wrestle full-time. So that's where I'm heading for.
Man, that's so cool. That was me when I was growing up as well. When I was like, that's all I wanted to do. There was no other side. No, there was no other job. It was just wrestling, 100%. That's all I was doing. Unfortunately, obviously I got injured. Had to be away from it. But talking to you guys, especially talking to a lot of Scottish wrestlers, is really making me like, oh, I really kind of might want to get back into it. Try and test my neck. I don't know. Try and figure out what I can do.
It's never too late to get back in about it.
I was talking to somebody and he was like, "Why don't you do like manager and stuff like that?" And I said, "Oh, don't push my buttons."
I get injured maybe a year into my career, which I was still young at. But at that point, I was finally becoming active. I was like on shows regularly every month. So it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to leave wrestling completely. I want to find a way to stay about wrestling. I didn't feel confident going into like a manager position, so I didn't know how to get it. And then it was offered to me to be a ring announcer. So I ended up being a ring announcer for a couple of months. But it was a great way to stay in about wrestling. And like, I think when I started to get a lot better with my shoulder injury and that, a lot of guys who I had trained with, guys like Stevie Boy and Cryer, they would come to me and be like, I know you're emceeing the show, but you want to get involved in the match. So it's like cool at the end of the day where these guys are still helping me get through, even though I'm injured and I'm really just ring announcing. But after I done the ring announcing, after I was done with the ring announcing, I stopped doing it. But I think I had a newfound respect for guys like Simon Cassidy, because that is a hard job to do. It is a difficult job. You stand up there and you're sweating, you've got a microphone, you don't want to forget where people are from, their weight or whatever. You're just sweating everywhere. But guys like Simon Cassidy who do that every weekend impress me.
Definitely, man. Back when I hurt my neck, it was like a long time I had to be out, and then personal stuff that kind of harmed, so I just kind of fell away from wrestling. But now I'm like, I've got more time. I've got my own stuff that I can kind of take time off. I'm like, should I get back into it? I would love to do like the manager stuff. I don't think I would go back in to the ring because I don't trust my neck at all. Like I think, I don't know. It's not 100%, but I think doing like a manager thing would be something that I'm really, really looking at. I'm talking to a few guys that have been on the podcast, and we're try to organise stuff, which is fun to kind of. It's make me put itch to get back at doing wrestling, which is something I've always wanted to get back into.
It's still been a part, like being a manager is a major, like it can play a major role in some matches. It's not many people come out with managers anymore in Scottish wrestling. I think I can mainly think of like two managers that are constantly out, and it's guys like the Wee Man and like Coach Tripp, guys like that. But they can make a massive difference in a match because no other match has that. No other match is like guys like the Wee Man and Coach Tripp. Even Chris Toll makes a massive difference in the match because he's so different to everybody else. Like nobody ever sees that. But I do think like even being in a manager position is a great way to stay a part of wrestling. You never know. You take a couple of manager bumps, you feel like your neck's fine, you get back in the ring.
Man, don't even tempt me because I would be back like tomorrow, but I think my doctor would probably slap me another way. But
my doctor do that one on me as well. That was never happening when he told me that I had to quit. It was a straight, that's not happening.
No, man, so what happened with me is when I broke my neck, I was in Holland, and then I came back, and it was like 8 weeks later, so it was like a chunk of time, and I went to the hospital. I didn't go get it checked when I was there. I just dealt with the pain. Flew back home, came here, the doctor was like, your neck's broke. And he was like, how did you get here? And I was like, I was on a plane, I waited a couple of days and came here, and he was like, it's been broke for a while, so how long has it been? I was like, like 7 weeks. And he was like, if you came straight away, it probably would have been better, but you've totally messed it up, so we're going to need to...
7 weeks. It's a long time.
It was...
A broken neck.
I didn't want to miss out on like what was going on because I was with one of my friends who was still I was training with this Japanese guy. It was really cool kind of stuff we were learning. I was doing like manager stuff at shows or doing like run-ins. I didn't want to miss out, but I've injured myself worse. But on the past now, grew up, learned. If I get injured, go to the doctor straight away. They fix it. That's what you're meant to do. Just any kids out there listening.
I made that mistake. I dislocated and fractured my right shoulder. I decided not to get it checked for the first few weeks. It started to swell quite bad. I went and got it checked, and it was like, you've tore all your tendons off your shoulder and that. You'll have to wait 8 months. I decided to wait 6 months because I was taking a seminar, and this was like 3 days before he went to America to wrestle. So I was like, nah, I'll go back today. Went back. Had a match. I was like, I feel great, man. My shoulder's fine. I didn't need 8 months. Next week, I come into training, dislocate. So, but I was young and I was just enjoying wrestling. So I ended up wrestling for 2 years after I done it before I get in and sorted with it. And I think I dislocated my arm 52 times in the space of 2 years. So it was the stupidest mistake I'd ever made in my life. But as you said, we've grew up, we've learnt from it.
I mean, I was 18 when I'd done that to my neck, so I was like really young when it happened, and I was just, now you know what it's like when you're younger. It's just like, forget this. I'm not going to miss out on this. My neck will be fine. I'll deal with it when I'm older. And then you're a wee bit older, your neck starts to click, or like you're saying 52 times later your shoulder's been dislocated. You're like, I should have probably just waited 8 months, and I wouldn't have need to be in this much pain. But we all get older, we all learn, we grow up. But hopefully we grow up and don't make the same mistakes, but it depends. I think you just get responsibilities, so you're like, oh shit, I can't like go to...
Instead of I can't miss a good time, it's I can't miss work.
I was saying that maybe a couple of wee weeks off work with a broken neck might be alright just now. But no, so how have you found COVID, like doing wrestling? Like, have you... Obviously, ICWs came up, which has been a really cool kind of thing for you during this time. Everybody that I've spoke to that's been doing ICWs has loved it because I've learned a lot from like the camera work and stuff like that as well. But how have you found it? Like, how have you found COVID kind of having to sit in and no wrestle?
I was gutting, honestly. See, when we were first told that like that's training done, then it was gutting to know like we had nothing. We had like that. That was the only thing I look forward to at the weekends. At the point, I was like, I'm buzzing for Sunday. Sunday finished, and then it was like, yes, I'm buzzing for next week. But then knowing like I had nothing to go to at the weekend, I was just like, hating life. But as you were saying, it got to that it got to about October or something, and I get the message on my phone, and it was like, we're running these closed door tapings for ICW. Would you be interested? And I was like, absolutely. I'm answering this text in work, thinking I've got 2 months to get my act together and get back in the ring and that. So I was like, absolutely. When do you want me? I get the text back tomorrow, and I was like, I've not wrestled in about 8 months, and you want me in tomorrow? Sure. Yep, I'll be there. Because it was one of the things where it was like an opportunity where I just couldn't pass by on, even though I hadn't wrestled for 9 months. It was like, I can't miss this opportunity because it might never come back again. So taking the opportunity and actually going into it was a completely different vibe for as soon as you showed up. As soon as I showed up, it was like instantly I knew it was different. There was just something different about it. And then when you go in and you see the ring set up in the stage, and then you notice there's no barriers for fans to be behind because there's no fans. And I don't know, it was, as you said, it's a cool learning experience that we're going through, but just being there at the fans make the shows like 100%. But it's a cool thing that ICW have run where nobody else in Scotland has really done anything like this. So again, it's their way of basically putting themselves out there and being like, we are still a major player in Scottish wrestling, we're still a major player in British wrestling. And then obviously being on the WWE network and Peacock TV now, it's like every week it keeps getting more surreal, but it's getting that way where I can realise that it is a real thing now. But it's still cool to see myself every week being like, oh, there's Logan Smith on the WWE network again this week. And it's like, that's crazy to think that. But dealing with COVID and the whole situation was just, it was horrendous. Like, I think maybe I walked out the first 2 days of COVID, and then I was just like, I've got no encouragement to do, I've got no enthusiasm, I've got nothing to work towards. Because normally when it wasn't a thing, I had a date in March or something that I'd try and work towards, where I'd try and be in a good shape for, I'd try and be a set weight for. But at this point, I had absolutely nothing to work towards. So I was like, nah, I'll just eat everything in the fridge.
And for me, it was the total opposite. Like the minute lockdown hit, all my kind of work and everything stopped, so I had nothing to do. And my kids were back home, so I was like, shit, I need to find something to do. Like, I'm not going to sit and listen to my kids for 24 hours a day. I don't know if you've got kids, but if you ever do, you'll know how I feel. It's need to try and teach them and stuff like that. No. So I've got in the best shape of my life. Like, I'm literally the best shape I've ever been in. Like, since I broke my neck, kind of all that work and stuff like that gets in the way.
I'm in the shape of my life, so we both achieved so.
I feel great. Everybody's like, oh, like I've really put on a lot of weight and stuff. I put on like weight that I wanted to put on. I feel fantastic. Like the only thing I'm hating, the fact that they're going to stop beer deliveries, which is my local brewdog in the West in Glasgow and stuff like that. They all deliver to my house. I know they're going to stop it soon, so I'm like, need to start going back out to get stuff again. And it's like it could come to me instead of me like having to go there. I can't wait to be able to go out again, but it was cool when it was able to come to you as well.
Aye, definitely.
But my lockdown's been great, apart from not having any work today, and pretty much spent the past year and a half however long it's been, doing nothing.
Been too long, that's how long it's been.
Definitely, man. But are you excited to get back in front of those fans when people come back in?
Absolutely. I think like all the time I set myself wee short-term goals, and I think one of my short-term goals right now is literally just to wrestle in front of an ICW crowd. I've never been able to do it. Like, I've never had the chance to do it. But like, I've been at the shows, I've been backstage at the shows, So I've heard the crowds and I know how rowdy they can get. I know how excited they are just to watch wrestling. So I just know that first show back is going to be incredible. And then obviously we've still got like the family shows where it's not ICW. We've got other companies like where the kids can come back and they can watch the wrestling again because the kids love it just as much as ICW fans love it. So it's definitely something I'm just buzzing for. That's like the one thing that I think we're all waiting for as a general consensus between like me and all my pals in wrestling. I think the one thing that we want now is just fans. We don't care how many we get. We don't care how many, like how loud they are. We just want them there. But we know for a fact as soon as the doors open, they're going to be as loud as it can be.
Definitely, man. I'm dreading going to like a show with somebody that I've had on this podcast. I know if they're a bad guy, they're just going to pick on me. Like it's just going to be.
I'll be watching. I'll be looking at.
I'm happy to take the heat. Do what you want to me. Like I'm all right, but no, I think it's just I can't wait to be able to get back and go watch wrestling again instead of like just sitting watching TV. Like I can't wait to be in there, experience it because there's a lot of people, a big group of fans that may have not even been to see a wrestling show live yet, which is mind-boggling because it's two different. Watching it and being there live is two different things.
Exactly. Guys might have people might have found out about wrestling during lockdown. You know what I mean? Some people might have just been scrolling through something, scrolling through whatever. I don't know what TikTok get popular. So scrolling through their TikTok, they see some guy wrestling. They're like, "What's that?" So it might be a whole new world. It might be the exact same as before, but I just feel like it's going to shows are going to erupt when it comes back. So
definitely, man. I think everybody's just going to be out like beer gardens in Glasgow and Scotland. I've opened. They're just been packed the past couple of weeks. So I'm guessing
wrestling shows.
I'm guessing. Oh, yous are going to everybody turns up and everybody just shits themselves. Like, what do we do? There's too many people. I don't know what to do.
People.
I'm not used to this. There's no TV kind of stuff, which I think will be. But anyway, talking about ICW is how are you finding the experience being on WWE Network? Because if it was me, I always say this, I'd have it on all the time. Like when I was wrestling, it was before social media was big. Bebo was still around, so that's how long ago it was. And I've got 2 pictures, and I literally, when I was younger, showed them to everybody. It was this is my stuff. I made 50 quid my very first match. It was £50 in front of a granny. And I just remember taking that £50 and being look what I made wrestling at the weekend. On the network, I would have it on 24/7, sending it to everybody. But watch me.
Obviously, same. I get told when we had filmed it and then it was put up a couple of weeks later, and straight away I was running into my parents, being look, showing them logging into the WWE Network. They're like, what is this? And I'm like, it's the WWE. And they've put me on the channel and everything. And they sort of got it, but at the same time they were like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And I was like, so, but explain that it is still a cool thing to every week be able to turn around to my parents and be like, I'm back on the WWE Network, because having parents that every week they can show me how proud they are every time they see a match. It's cool to see the pride on their faces when they see me, even just my entrance. They don't even know what watch me wrestle. They can see me do my entrance and they're buzzing that I'm actually just on television. They absolutely love it. But I was the exact same. Every time I get a clip back of me when I'm going in and I'm showing guys field work and I'm sending my pals it, being like, look what I done at the weekend. But I'm the exact same. It's still mind-boggling to me knowing that every week that I go in there, it's getting filmed for A, a worldwide television, and B, a worldwide network service. So it is cool every single week. But aye.
100%, man. Like you're saying, it's so cool, for young guys like yourself to be able to be on the network, be discovered by a random American wrestling fan that might watch it and then can go check out the rest of your matches. Because when I was younger, it was still DVDs and stuff, or on the grainy YouTube. It wasn't even that long ago. I broke my neck in 2009. Saying that it's long ago, but you know what I mean. Like it's no that long ago, but you've still got those like the grainy videos and stuff like that. Nobody goes back and watches YouTube videos with 2009 just because how bad quality they are, and that's literally what you had back then. So it's cool being on. For me, watching any Scottish wrestler be on a WWE network, getting people that are on like Twitter, finding them and stuff like that, it's just how cool Scottish wrestling, UK wrestling, this kind of scene here is at the minute, which is like it went under kind of rated for a few years till WWE's picked up ICW, which is then kind of showing that there's a lot more kind of going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know
it's a huge thing.
We've pretty much spent the past 40 minutes just putting over like the UK wrestling scene, but everybody should go check it out. Just if you, everybody needs you to go check it.
I'm there.
But all I've done as well is try to no sneeze this whole. It looks like I'm just doing this all the time, but I'm really trying to no sneeze because if I get a few more, that's me the rest of the night. So I'm trying to hold it in. But a few questions that we always like to ask coming up till the end of the kind of podcast. The first one is, so I've sent you 2 over. The last one I never send anybody, and you can answer them however you want. But the first one is, who's your favourite wrestler of all time?
I'd need to say Edge. Edge was the guy that he was the very first guy that sort of caught my eye. Like I watched that triple threat tag team ladder match, and I was like catching everybody's eye. Everybody was catching my eye, but the one moment that really got me was Edge's spear. Obviously, everybody knows what it is. It still gets replayed every time Edge shows up, or they go back and do a WrestleMania vignette. That spear off the ladder, man, it was so cool. It was like a superhero. So to me, it's like after I started watching Edge and just seeing his aggression when he was cashing in Money in the Bank and everything, it was cool. Like this guy was, this guy, I was genuinely scared for the guy that he was in the ring with every time. So I think every time that I seen Edge, I was like, yes, this is going to be a good one. So Edge has got to be like my all-time favourite wrestler.
Man, he was always one of my favourites growing up. A funny story is I went and got like an Edge and Christian signing thing. What they call? Signature? Is that what it's called? Autograph. That's what it's called. Just shows you how smart we are.
An Edge and Christian signing thing.
I was like signing what do we? Autograph. I went and got one of them, and I was also going to get it was the Hardy Boys that was meant to be there. But Jeff Hardy didn't turn up for some reason. I think he had like prior commitments, so he wasn't available. Whatever it was only Matt Hardy. But I got Edge and Christian, loved it. Then it was the Matt Hardy signed one from me, and I literally was like, "This is." When I was a kid, I was like, "This is shit." Like I wanted Jeff Hardy. He was the cool Hardy. This is pish. Then I've still got the signature to this day, and I'm like, I was such an ungrateful child. Like that's if I met Matt Hardy just now, I would pour mark out. But back then, I was just like, this isn't even the cool one. Like, where is he? What are you doing here? But
I remember Hardy at a BCW show, and again, I was the same. I was just like, that's so cool, man. I was like standing next to a guy who I'd watched in the very first wrestling match I'd watched, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Then I'm walking ringside security, and he drops his jacket down to me, and I nearly fall to the ground, and I'm like, whoa. Thing weighed about 40 pounds, and I wasn't expecting him to drop it on me. So it was like, I was like, you carry that to the ring with you, you wear that to the ring. But at the end of the day, it was so cool just to be like, have a quick chat with him, like literally like 3 minutes, and it was well cool just to sit and talk to somebody like that.
Definitely, man. I think it would be one of my highlights recently has been speaking to Sabu on this podcast, which is he was one of my favourites growing up. And that
watched that. That was cool. There was some things in there that I'd never even thought about Sabu. Like
it was insane to learn from as well. Like speaking to him off camera too, which a wee bit more relaxed. We got to talk about a lot of kind of cool stuff, but on camera, like when he dropped that RVD Hall of Fame thing, I shit myself to be honest with you. And I was like, oh shit, what am I meant to do with this? But I know it's so cool when you speak to somebody like Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, anybody. One of my favourite wrestlers was Ulf Herman. I don't know if you know who that is. Is German wrestler. You should go check him out. He does quite a lot of cool hardcore stuff. I'll send you some clips. He does like quite a lot of cool hardcore stuff. And I met him one time and literally just picked his brains for like 40 minutes. It was on a train when I was on holiday in Germany. I was like 24 at the time, and I was like, oh, I was like, "You're Alf Herman," and the guy was like, "Aye." And I was like, "Oh, can I pick your brain?" And he was like, "Are you still wrestling?" I was like, "No, I've not been wrestling for like 6 years now." And he was like, "You still got the bug, like you're still poor." And yeah, but I was pretty asking him like how you done this kind of stuff and all that, but it was pretty cool. So the set question is, what's your favourite event of all time? Now everybody picks WrestleMania 17, which I don't know if that's what you were going to pick, but
it was, but let's think of something else. Let's be different. WrestleMania 30. I know it's a very recent WrestleMania. Well, I say very recent. It just had everything. Like it had every sort of angle of storytelling. It had great wrestling. It had upsets. It had like pure joyous moments. Daniel Bryan beating like Triple H, then beating Randy Orton and Batista in the main event with the confetti and everything. It was just a super cool main event. And then obviously you had the streak ending, which nobody ever seen happening. But it was that's one of like I think that's one of the greatest moments of storytelling to ever come to an end with Daniel Bryan's. Like I think it was maybe like I think it lasted about a year and a bit. The whole story with him being like the B+ player and everything. So I think that culminating in that moment was just like a perfect ending to a story. And I think storytelling is very important in wrestling because like it's the same if you watch like I've heard that Line of Duty is popular. I don't watch it. I don't know if you watch it, but like
no, never seen an episode yet.
nobody's thought about it right now. My Twitter absolutely blew up about it of people being raging about the story not ending the way they wanted to be. But that's how it goes. That's storytelling. That's how it gets people interested. That's why my Twitter blew up because the storytelling came to an end when it shouldn't have to these people. But I think that way of that whole story coming to an end at WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan winning and overcoming everything, it was just a great underdog sort of story. But yeah, WrestleMania 30 is like close behind WrestleMania 17.
Everybody always picks WrestleMania 17. It's pretty much just
amazing event. It's an amazing show.
It's literally like a perfect like how to run a wrestling show is that.
You can think about it. There's nothing that you can go, nah, that didn't work. I think there's nothing on the show that goes, that shouldn't have happened or that shouldn't have happened. But every year I look forward to the Royal Rumble more than anything. It's the one thing that I'm always buzzing about. Obviously WrestleMania gets me excited, but I'm always more excited for the Royal Rumble because I just think it's cool to see like guys come back or like guys get their opportunity. Like this year it was like Bianca Belair, like she won the Women's Royal Rumble, but that was cool to see someone like her win the Rumble rather than somebody that we've seen be a champion 6 times already. So I enjoy the Royal Rumble a lot and it's very unpredictable a lot of the time. So yeah.
Definitely, man. I think the Rumble's one of those kind of cool, like like you said, unpredictable kind of things. I was trying to think of a different word, but that's the best way to describe it. It's so fun to watch as well. But something that always gets me a lot of hate in the kind of wrestling, internet wrestling community kind of side of stuff is I hate Daniel Bryan. I can't stand the guy. I think he's a good in-ring worker. I get that he's a good worker because I've done it. I'm like, I can appreciate that he's a good worker, but just does not stick with me at all. Like I don't know why either.
I don't know because I think the guy's cracking. I think he's a great storyteller. He can literally wrestle. I think like going back and watching his old style of wrestling as well. Like when he was what was his gimmick name before?
Bryan Danielson.
He done a mask gimmick as well, didn't he?
Aye, I see. I knew him back at
American Dragon.
Then when he went to WWE, I was like, oh, this guy's just pure ruined it. But
I think every style he's ever wrestled, like he can wrestle all sorts of style. He can do technical, he can do striking, he can do high flying stuff. His in-ring work's incredible, and then the storytelling he done during that whole era, that whole sort of year length story was just cracking. Like I think everything that he does is just fantastic, and I think he's good on the mic as well. So I'm going to disagree with you, but everyone can have their opinion. So
that's the best thing about wrestling, man. I love when people have like that's everybody's always so defensive of their opinion, But I like everybody just believing, like, you can love Daniel Bryan,
I
can love somebody that you don't like, and that's what makes wrestling. Like you said, storytelling is...
Exactly. Aye. That's why you'll get a random guy in the back at shows cheering on the bad guy, and it still brings that wee bit of entertainment, because not only does it turn the fans on the wrestler, it turns the fans on the fans. So you get even more controversy everywhere. So I think it all adds up, but we all know it's that wee bit of light-hearted fun, like in the crowd. If one guy's chanting for the good guy and one guy's chanting for the bad guy, they'll have a wee bit of each other, but they know at the end of the day it's still fun. They know it's up to them who they like. So I think that's a great thing about wrestling.
Definitely, man. I love how diverse wrestling is. Like, everybody's got different opinions, everybody's got their different favourites. Like I says, I agree, Daniel Bryan's great on the mic, great in the ring. Just, I love that, see that whole year run right up till when he bet Triple H for owning a triple threat. I don't know why he just doesn't stick with it. It's like he's just there, and I'm like I really want to like him, but I just can't get into him at all. Which I can look at him and enjoy his work, but no, he's no for me. And the final question, man, the one that we always ask, that everybody always either hums and haws it, or they've got their answer straight away. Which you might have your answer straight away, but I'll tell you what mine would be after it. So, if you could replace yourself or add yourself to any match in history, what would it be? So for me, I would replace Owen Hart against Bret Hart, Blue Steel Cage, SummerSlam '94. If you've never seen that, go watch it, because
that is a great match.
I mean, only if I was as good as Owen Hart, obviously, because if I wasn't, it would be shit. If it was just me starting in the new.
That is a tough question, man. That's a really good question.
And I never send it because I always like to see people who are like struggle to answer it. They've got it straight out of the bag.
What match? It's going to sound ridiculous, but I would love to replace, and I don't care who I'd replace in the match. I'd love to either replace the Undertaker or Mankind in that King of the Ring match. It's quite possibly the most famous wrestling match ever. I think whenever you mention, like, whenever you watch a wrestling vignette, the lead up to the show's starting or something, there's always something from that match in that promo package. Yep. It's one of the most talked about matches, I think, in wrestling. It's one of the most memorable for bizarre reasons. Well, Mick Foley should have died twice. But I'd replace either one of them. Maybe preferably the Undertaker, so I didn't have to really die twice. So
replace the Undertaker so that you don't end up like. I love that match, man. It's one of it. It's actually, you're the second person this week that's mentioned that one. It's normally always like a WrestleMania or something like that. But I'm going to need to go watch it because I'm in the mood for it. The best part of that is Terry Funk coming out his trainers and chokeslammed out his shoes, which is
even better. It just made the match 10 times better.
Like, I know, obviously, it's a good match. Like, Mick Foley's gone through all this terrible stuff, like teeth and all that kind of stuff like that, which is like good on him. But the shoes coming off Terry Funk just makes the whole thing. It's like, how did he even manage to like sell that and just take it from like a 9 out of 10 match to a 10 out of 10 just with the shoes?
A lot of discussion that I used to read on it. I used to read sort of like things that would discuss that match. A lot of people were like, it was a great match, but Mankind should have won. Like, he's been flung off the cell twice and he's came back through. Why did he not win? I was like, that's exactly why he didn't win. He get flung off a cell twice and nearly died. He shouldn't have won. It would have made no sense for him. He came back and he finished the match. He's sitting there with a tooth in his nose. Like, that's...
If he won, you're not expecting him to turn up Monday. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to... and he's turning up next day to work, like, still like, oh, I won, but I need to take 6 weeks off because I'm really hot.
Exactly. But it would be that match. That would replace myself in.
Speaking of Terry Funk, man, just before we finish, have you ever seen any Terry Funk's older, before ECW kind of stuff? Because quite a lot of young guys never really go watch it, and it's like, he's such a great, against Flair and Steamboat and stuff like that is insane to watch.
You know, I have seen him in Steamboat. I've seen him in Steamboat a couple of times because there was a point in when I just started wrestling that I really enjoyed Ricky Steamboat. I think he's incredible. Like Ricky Steamboat, any match you could watch with Ricky Steamboat is just like that's perfect. I don't think I've ever watched a match where I'm like Ricky Steamboat looked rubbish in that. But I think I'm sure I've seen him in Ricky Steamboat. I've never seen him in Flair, but it's something that I'm going to have to look into to see that, because again, Flair's just an incredible talent as well. Well, back in his day, but ECW is where I first noticed Terry Funk. So I'm the same as all the other younger guys. I didn't see him until I noticed him in ECW first, and then I started watching like old WWF things. I seen Ricky Steamboat. I started watching Ricky Steamboat things, and then found Ricky Steamboat and Terry Funk. And then at that point, I knew who Terry Funk was, so I would watch that. So ECW was the first place that I seen him, but it was still cool to see him do a different sort of style of wrestling than what he done in ECW and that.
Definitely. I was the exact same. I was the first time I ever seen Terry Funk was ECW. It was later on that I went back and watched his NWA stuff and stuff like that. I would definitely recommend to go check out. Obviously, like me, you're not a big high flyer person. You're not going to be like jumping around. You can learn a lot, learn a lot of stuff. That's what I took into my kind of work as well. Him and Flair was just insane. You definitely should go check it out. But he does a steel cage match in ECW, like when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling against Jimmy Snuka, which you should go check out just to see how much coke both the guys are on. Just like it's it's insane. Like how are you even doing this match? Like it's if you just obviously if that's something you want to watch people mess up, then you kind of.
I really enjoy like older wrestling. I do enjoy older wrestling sometimes a lot more than the current product. Even though the current product's amazing, I think a lot of people pick up moves from the current product and use it as their own. Whereas if I go back and I watch older wrestling, less people are going to use moves from 1896 or whatever. That was a random year, but like no moves from then.
So what's a match that you would tell somebody to go search for you on YouTube? Obviously, go check your ICW stuff on WWE Network. It's there. It's current. It's obviously going to be on a weekly basis, so people can go check that. But what's something that you're proud of that somebody could go find on YouTube or on your own social medias? You'd be like, go check this one out.
Do you know? I think I do only have one match on YouTube, and it's my debut, and I was 15 or 14 or something. So we'll skip by that, and we don't have to go watch that at all. I get called Justin Bieber, and my voice was incredible. Called Justin Bieber, and I came back with a Justin Bieber voice, accusing myself of not being Justin Bieber. I don't have matches on YouTube at all. But as you said, I think the only I've got clips on my Twitter and I've got my Instagram. So if you want to check me out on Twitter, I'm Logan Smith _UK. You can check out my clips on. I've got clips from matches that aren't posted as full matches. And I'm UK Logan Smith on Instagram. So there's stuff on that you could really get to. And like you said, check out the stuff on WWE Network. If you're in the rest of the world, or on Peacock TV if you're in America.
No, man, definitely. I think people should go check you out. I think you're going to be the next big thing in Scottish. I literally say that to most people I get on this, but I only try and get people that I'm kind of enjoying watching their content. Like I discovered a few of your clips. Then when you ask, "Oh, what ones was it?" It was on YouTube. I seen the match. Obviously, I was like, "Oh, this guy's really new at it." And then I was checking your clips out, and I seen you on the network and stuff like that. So I was like, "Oh, he's been doing it for a little bit of time." But I didn't want to be like, "Oh, it was the one on YouTube when you're like 7 or something." You know what I mean? Like,
that would have been the one you watched. Was when I was 14 years old, and that was my very first match. So it's cool to have that saved on YouTube, and I can go back and I can watch last week's ICW taping, and then go and watch my debut match and just see how far I've come. Is like obviously I'm wrestling in ICW now with Alex Parker, and that's like, I think right now the way I'm wrestling with Alex and ICW is like the most fun I've had in wrestling right now. So we're really enjoying ourselves with that. So we're hoping that continues quite a lot anyway. But Aye, that's where you can find me.
I just can't find me anywhere else. Just WWE Network exclusive. That's it.
Network and Peacock TV.
But thanks for being on the live stream. What I'll do is I'll end it there and I'll tell you the kind of aftercare stuff in a minute.
No worries, brilliant.